Hi, church. Today I want to read just one verse from 2 Corinthians 7, verse 6, because I think as I've talked to various people, they have shared about their emotional well-being during this time, and especially the longer that the COVID-19 cases go on, and the more that we are required to remain socially distant, kind of the more that there is uncertainty, because I think that sometimes we as Christians are reluctant to admit that we are struggling in any way related to what we perceive as negative emotions. But in 2 Corinthians 7, verse 6, Paul makes this statement. He said, "But God, who comforts the depressed, comforted us by the coming of Titus." And just prior to that, he had been talking about the fact that when he came to Macedonia, that he didn't have any rest, that there was affliction on every side. He has that phrase that maybe you'd heard before, conflicts without, fears within. He was surrounded both inside and out by uncertainty, by stress, by negative events, by difficult situations, even by direct opposition. And as a result, he was feeling depressed. He was struggling emotionally, and God comforted him. And I think it's important to realize that Paul, who we think of as being this stalwart of the faith, struggled with his emotions. And it's okay to admit that to one another, because what helped Paul was that Titus came along. Titus, another believer, another pastor, came along, and God used Titus to comfort Paul. And so I would encourage you today, especially if you are struggling in the area of your emotional well-being, that is not a sign of a lack of trust in God. It's not a sign of that you are not spiritually mature. It's just part of being human and living in a fallen world. I would encourage you, if you are struggling, to reveal that to somebody, to say, I am struggling in this area. I've been feeling depressed. I'm having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning and feeling motivated to do things. And I would encourage you, even if you are not feeling that way, to think about the people around you, to touch base with them, to make sure that we are helping one another feel the comfort that comes from God. It's not a sin to be depressed or to struggle with those feelings. But pride sometimes can become a sin when that prevents us from sharing our struggles with one another. Paul also wrote in one of the letters to the Corinthians, that God used the comfort that he received to comfort others, and that he would do that for us. That as we have gone through different situations, God uses that so that we can help one another. So today I would say, reach out. Reach out if you're struggling. Reach out if you're not struggling, but you just want to check on somebody. Let's make sure that as this time goes on, that we are persistent, that we persevere in caring for one another as God's children.